You're all good, so you could start.
Great. Thank you, Peter. In the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and convene this meeting of the Sewage Disposal Working Group. Uh, my name is Jim Paris, and I'm one of the three chairs, along with my esteemed colleagues, Sonia Brinkworth and John Kiskowski. Um, I don't see any legislators in the virtual room this afternoon. Of course, they may very well be pretty busy today, given that the House is in session. Um, Seeing no legislators, I'll just go ahead and provide some brief opening remarks and open it up to John and Sonia, and then we'll take it from there. Um, uh, you know, I'll just say that we've had a lot of activity going on at the subcommittee level. As a reminder to folks in the virtual room and those that might be listening, we're really in phase one of our work, which is scheduled to run through November. As such, our subcommittees are really in the process of continuing their research in data gathering phases. Some may be in the process or just beginning to flesh out concepts that may very well evolve into recommendations for the larger working group to consider. Um, I think there's a lot of work ahead of us. I think today will probably be a relatively short meeting, given that we'll have some updates and beyond that, probably very little business thereafter. I'm going to open it up to Sonia and then John for any additional comments.
I have no comments, just a report when we do it.
Yeah, nothing further. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, great. Then without further ado, we'll step right into number 3 in our agenda, which is the subcommittee chairperson's reports. And I will open it up to our esteemed Nitrogen and Environment Subcommittee sub-chair, David Potts, if you have some feedback for us, David, on what the subcommittee's been up to date.
All right, well, thank you. This morning, the group met with George Hoyfelder from Mass Test Center. He explained in general how the nitrogen program is set up in Massachusetts. The monitoring, performance tracking, and enforcement is largely managed through software and a small staff with a budget of less than $250,000 a year. This data tracking also helps select technologies for approval that can perform at the necessary levels. These data are public and can be accessed online and filtered in a number of ways. So it's a handy mechanism. While 19 milligrams per liter total nitrogen is required for general use approval in Massachusetts, the reality is that 10 milligrams per liter or less has been necessary to meet the watershed loads. There's presently 2 technologies, Nitrex and Nitro, that can consistently achieve these treatment levels, and they're considered the best available nitrogen technology, or the acronym BANT, B-A-N-T. He shared the typical cost of sewering a home on Cape Cod is over $100,000. And a BANT system can be typically constructed for less than about half that cost. So there's an effort to provide funding for on-site systems, as is done with municipal sewering projects, because both really provided a general benefit to society and specifically the environment. We've been trying to access Connecticut nitrogen data for subsurface alternative, municipal and stormwater. It appears that these data are, practically speaking, more difficult to access than hoped. Many data sets are apparently incomplete, not electronic, and significantly out of compliance. Our hope of using these data to understand the relative contribution from on-site systems may not come to fruition in the next few months that we have available, is the reality. The need for a nitrogen system tracking like Mass has is increasingly evident from this exercise, especially if we were to make decisions and recommendations relative to the housing costs. So thank you, and any questions?
If before there's any questions, if there's anyone else from the subgroup that would like to make comments pertaining to conversations today or the work that we've done to date, feel free to add any of those comments now.
This is Audra Dixon with Deep. So I just wanted to note that data is available, but you are correct that it is spotty. And many systems that are permitted through Deep today are in non-compliance. And that is a concern for moving forward. There are data systems that do exist that could be leveraged through the Clean Water Act surface through ISIS NIPDs. If that was something we were looking ahead into in terms of data collection. But we did talk about, like, foundationally for creating a program like this, it is a huge undertaking. I don't know if you guys had a chance to go visit the website after this morning's talk, but it is comprehensive. It's a really great program, is what it looks like, at least on the surface here. So it's definitely something I think we should look more into.
I think it was worth noting that it was really interesting to hear George state that, the reality is, while we're having challenges in the state of Connecticut pertaining to getting folks to comply with providing data to the state pertaining to their AT systems, that in Massachusetts they're having virtually no compliance issues given the way the program is structured and how they're executing things. So I thought that was really interesting to hear, and certainly I'm really eager to learn more about it as well. Are there any comments for David or Audra? No. All right. So I think we'll just go ahead and move to the process and funding subcommittee. I'm not sure if Matt Gilchrist is with us. If not, John, if you have an update.
I don't see Matt. I also don't have much of an update. I had to miss the last meeting. I spent an unfortunate morning in Putnam Courthouse, not my own deal, but I had to miss the meeting. Bob Wiedemann, I hate to put you on the spot. If you were there, if there was anything to report.
Yeah, thanks, John. I can tell you a little bit about what we're working on, and hopefully Jim or Matt Pollock can maybe fill in any details that I may miss. They've actually been doing a great job of kind of walking us through the current process of how both DPH works and how the local sanitarians kind of do their job, and what the process is for the different size systems up to 2,000, to 2,000 to 5 or 7,500, and then those above that. And we've been talking through the various processes and where there might be ways to improve the system, or just, why do we do things the way we do things. So we've had some very good conversation about that. Jim's done an outstanding job of kind of outlining that for us. We're probably at this point sort of at a place where we're waiting for the other two committees to sort of give us some guidance and feedback on what the proposed changes might be, and then we can look at how we can maybe develop the processes and or funding that may be necessary to go to that next step. So we're sort of at a place where we got a good handle on what we're doing today, but we don't know what to do next to help improve the whole process. Matt or Jim, do you guys have anything else to add to what I just kind of laid out?
Go ahead, Jim.
Thank you. I think we're trying to also focus on the need for training in order to have DPH to train I'll say the workforce, so we can be as much consistent as we can doing our job. So we're focusing on establishing a training program. Obviously, that training program is going to need some money in order for that to happen, especially if it's going to be training is going to be generated through DPH. They'll need that type of funding, and not only funding, but DPH is also going to need more support. And again, the state of Connecticut is very unique in a situation where we have three levels of septic systems reviews: local, DPH, and DEP. And I don't think our surrounding states have that unique environment that we have here in Connecticut. So we're definitely looking at focusing on training and funding, and hopefully the expansion of DPH subsurface sewage disposal section in order to provide that throughout the state of Connecticut. So,
Yeah, thanks, Jim. That's a great point. And it wasn't just for training of local sanitarians, but also installers, engineers that are working in this field, because obviously engineers have a broad range of experiences, but they may not spend a lot of time on septic system design. So we're looking at kind of educating everybody that's involved in the process.
Go ahead,
So,
Matt.
yeah, I have two things that actually I owe the committee, and they are forthcoming. I have to vet them through my leadership, but one of them is basically it broke down my program's responsibilities, which, if anybody doesn't know, we do more than just sewage. So that's forthcoming, hopefully. The other thing, and this is going to segue on what you guys were just talking about, in our meeting, we came up with, or we discussed three possible what I call training funding initiatives, two of which involve the training of sanitarians and possibly engineers and installers. One is our soils training seminar, and the other one is this facility up in Enfield that could offer field training. So I had compiled, and then the third initiative was a database similar to what Dave was talking about this morning, a tracking database, statewide database. So I did have one of my staff assist me, and I have that up for leadership as well. So I broke those things down with a description and even a dollar amount for those. So that's forthcoming as well for the committee. Just wanted to give you guys an update where that's going.
I was wondering, given the conversation, has anybody in your subcommittee to date looked at maybe some best practices pertaining to training and funding for that training from other states? If not, I mean, if folks would think that was valuable, we could talk to some of the folks in maybe the Office of Legislative Research, or try to come up with a couple of different states that folks might identify as being ideal, or having some best practices that could potentially be emulated, and we could see if we have contacts in those states to explore.
Yeah, Jim, that's a great idea. We have not explored any of that at this point. So if anyone on any of the committees, I'm thinking especially like David, where he works in multiple states, if you have information on how people do it in Rhode Island, Mass, or New York, in particular, just abutting states, that would be useful information for us as well as we start to develop how we want to run our system. Matt, I would like just ask, did you have any idea when we might be able to see those reports that you're waiting for management to okay releasing them to us?
I wish I could give you an answer. I am meeting with my manager tomorrow, and I'm going to let her know that this is timing is of the essence. So I'm hoping I can release that soon.
Okay.
At least that's my goal.
All right, that'd be great. Obviously, it's helpful for us to know, how you're paying for what your staffing levels are and how you're paying for it currently, and then how can we assist in making that better for you. So
Absolutely.
that'd
Thank
be
you.
great.
Are there any additional questions or comments for folks of the process and funding subcommittee? Hearing none, we'll move on to the regulations and legal subcommittee. Sonia, I believe you'll be providing the report.
Yes, I will. Okay. So the first bullet point that I want to talk about was we want to meet with budget and process, and we will have a meeting on Wednesday. I'm going to send it out to both groups to see if that would be a good meeting for you guys to join us on. About a month ago, 2 or 3 meetings ago, we had a very robust conversation about funding and process. And I think it would be a good time to meet with you guys before going forward with that conversation. The other one is we also want to meet at some point with nitrogen. I like what they did with nitrogen doing a longer meeting. We need to figure out where those environmentally sensitive areas, when determined, will go into those regulations and how. So it really is kind of a back and forth meeting that I think is going to be needed. The reason why I'm stating this is because we had quite a spirited conversation over the health of sewage and shellfish beds and bathing areas. Pretty much come to a general agreement that if the regulations are protective of nitrogen, then they will also be protective against harmful pathogens. but we do want information, supporting information or data. Another one was we wanted to look into the areas as the technical standards or the regulations, and I believe Ms. Dante sent out a good point of the areas of special concern. So when we look into the regulations and change them for whatever it is that we need to be more sensitive about, that would be a good area in which to add it to. Another one thing that was brought up was jurisdiction transfer between DPH, and local health. That's not really standard yet, so I think that was a good conversation that we just brought up, but we didn't get into it, and if that can go into the regulations as well. The last thing is that I sent out a draft summary table, and all it is giving our group members, and this could be sent over to you guys too, is just basically a standard format of when we are looking at a section reference, we want to identify the issue, we want to describe what the concern is, and recommend a clarification or correction, as well as a priority level. I can, this is more for when we're getting to nitty gritty with the regulations, and I can send a blank template for anybody who wants to join in on that. We can always bring it up in our regulations and legal subcommittee conversation if you have any questions on a specific regulation that was proposed to be passed. And that's it, unless any of the group members have anything else to say.
Any comments or questions for Sonia? I see Bob.
Yeah, Sonia, we'd love to come to one of your meetings because we don't go to enough meetings as it is. So if we can get involved with you as well, that would be great. But seriously, if you can let us know when you're scheduled, and we'll try to get at least some of us try to sit in so we can have that joint conversation.
So we actually have every Wednesday right now. So next Wednesday would be our meeting. I'll send it out to both groups because I didn't actually get a vote on this, but it would make sense to do it a week from today. But I'll send I'll send budget and processing and regulation email with their opinion on if we can do it on Wednesday or not.
Okay. What time do you normally hold your meetings?
2 to 3, the exact same time as this.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Audra, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention some training resources that that I'm aware of that we sometimes will send our staff to, and they have online training modules, but they might be helpful here as well. There's the National On-Site Wastewater Recycling Association. They actually have a breakdown of training by, it's available by state, but I also have available courses online. And then there's the On-Site Wastewater Professionals, geared towards installers, inspectors, operator schools, and that is multi-state as well. So something that we do for our folks here at DEEP.
Great, thank you. Any other additional questions, comments? Thank you, Sonia. So we'll go ahead and hop into other business. As far as I know, we don't really have much for other business at this moment, given that our subcommittees are in the midst of doing phase 1. I have reached out to Sonia and John.
Jen, Dave, just before we move on.
Yeah, sure.
On the training aspect, I guess I would just react to what Audra said about the National On-Site Wastewater Recycling Association. We should be careful. I mean, a lot of those organizations are heavily manufactured, dependent and related to. There's organizations out there that are not that way, and we should try to make sure that we're using that. In Massachusetts, they have the Mass Test Center. They do a lot of training right out of there. And that's really good, unbiased fact and science. And we're going to solve these problems by that. You heard from George today, where many of the technologies that they're tracking are not performing at the levels they're supposed to. And really, to get to the levels they need, there's only 2. You're not going to hear that from industry-related groups. We need to be very careful that we get science and hard fact behind that. So that would be my comment.
Any additional questions, comments? Seeing none. So, I see Jim King's hands up. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, as a representative of NAURA, I don't agree with Dave's sentiment. The training is not made by manufacturers at NAURA. The organizations, the states can actually make their own training. NAURA will actually help the state put that together. So there's a lot of opportunity there for the state to have its own training located on NAURA that was made by the state. And no manufacturer has any input on that. And the training there is actually made by industry people. So.
Great. Thank you for that input. David, is your hand up again, or is that?
Yeah, I would agree to disagree, and I think the state should, be very careful on where we get our training and education. Connecticut On-Site Wastewater Recycling Association has been involved in training in the state for many, many years. CALRA has chosen not to affiliate at this point with NAURA for a variety of reasons. And I think the training offered by CALRA has been very strong. CALRA would like to continue operating in the training venue, partnering with the Mass Test Center, partnering with the University of Rhode Island, wherever we can get real science and unbiased training.
Thank you. Any last thoughts or questions before we move on? Great, hearing none. So with regard to other business, I'd just like to say that that the co-chairs of the working group will be getting together sometime soon. The goal of that conversation is going to be really kind of to nail down a framework and expectations and a timeline for this working group moving forward. Obviously, we provided at the outset a very generic timeline in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. If you guys will recall in Sonia's PowerPoint slide. But what we'd like to do is really kind of figure out next steps specifically, i.e., when we should actually have a list of recommendations from the subcommittees that can then go before the entire working group for folks to kind of kick the tires with, and then determine when subcommittee reports should be completed within phase 2. And then ultimately, we will also want to have a conversation about where and how public input should be incorporated into this process. So whether that is a open comment period where folks can send us emails and communicate that way, or we have, say, a public hearing held in person at the Legislative Office Building. So those are the things that we're looking to flesh out moving forward, so we can provide some concrete dates and expectations from the subcommittees moving forward. Does anyone have any questions about that, or any suggestions or comments? All right, seeing none, our next meeting, I presume, will continue on as scheduled for November 26th at 2 o'clock. And if there isn't anything additional from the working group, then I would move for an adjournment.
Second.
Oh, there you go. All in favor.
Aye.
All right. Well, thank you all for attending today. If anybody from if there are subcommittee chairs that need any sort of specific direction from the working group chairs, or any sort of guidance or assistance with obtaining data, please just email or give a call. We're all just a phone call away. So thank you again, and have a great afternoon.
Thanks, everyone. So long.
Thanks. See you guys.